1 week season.
Guys, the internet has spoken, and we are going to be building two lineups today, a Jayden Daniels lineup and then a Dillon Gabriel stack. We are going back to the Browns, and man, that might sound disgusting, but we're going to do it. He's StatATL. I'm Cheeseman, your host. This is the DFS Lab presented by 1 week season and stat. We had a couple of polls. You kind of started doing this a couple weeks ago, putting two polls out, one on Twitter, one on Discord, and it looks like the results were split between the two sites, and so we're gonna build two lineups.
Yeah, I think we got some requests for folks to say, why don't we allow for some more participation in some of these DFS labs, and so I'm fully willing to embrace that. So yeah, we're gonna do what the subscribers and what the folks on Twitter want us to do. So
and
this week,
let me pull these polls up real fast. You guys can see. Hopefully, you can see that. Okay, pause the video if you need to, guys. By the way, this video presented by, I think I already said it, 1 week season. But if you would not mind, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. We would absolutely love that. But stat, as you can see, this one on the right. Dillon Gabriel, and then the one on the left, Jayden Daniels. But the other, you go ahead and go through the other options real quick there.
Yeah, so we gave the options of Jayden Daniels, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and Dillon Gabriel. And this was the first week we had a split decision between Twitter and Inner Circle voters. So we're gonna give the people what they want, and we're just gonna build two on stream. We'll start off with, like, I guess, a Jayden Daniels lineup, and then we'll wrap it up with a Dillon Gabriel lineup.
Love it. So we're gonna get to that in a sec, but before we do, got to give a little bit of a shout out. You were at I'll let you tell the story here. I'll just pull this picture up. But you were at the Monday night game, the Falcons game, because of course StatATL, you live in the Atlanta area, went to the game against the Bills and ended up running into a 1 week season member.
Yeah, it was just in line getting some concessions, and a couple people behind me in line just says, "Hey, are you StatATL?" And it turned around, had a nice conversation with him. That's Mama Macklemore, goes by Mac in Discord, and as you can see from the picture, we were fanship divided there.
I like the Josh Allen jersey.
Yeah, luckily,
where's your jersey?
Atlanta got the win. Yeah, I've got a Ryder Cup shirt on. Really, just embracing the golf that I love just as much as football.
Yeah, as you can see, you got like a huge 2 cases of balls back behind you there.
But yeah, I mean, it didn't align with my my showdown build for Monday night, but Atlanta did end up victorious. So we'll take it. And Mac, it was great to meet you. Thank you for saying hi. Hope you enjoyed your time in Atlanta.
Yeah, I love it, man. What was your showdown build, by the way?
I went with a 5-1 Bills stack with just no, it was 4-2. I went Bijan and why am I drawing a blank on his name? Number 5, our top receiver.
Drake London.
Yeah, Drake London, and then I played Josh Allen captain, and had those two, and then just brought it back with a bunch of Bills.
Yeah.
Just tried to embrace the fact that I felt like Terrell was going to be on Keon Coleman the whole game. They weren't going to throw at him, and just play the other Bills wide receiver options who were cheap. And I think if we had played out that slate 100 times, I feel like that build gets there. And it was unique. Like I built a lineup in the single entry, the whatever it is, 15,000 entrant single entry contest that wasn't duped. So,
yeah, I love that. I was surprised when I saw that score. I kind of like sat down to watch some of the games at the start of the second one, and then I just saw 21-7 Falcons. I was like, whoa! I did not expect to see that, but NFL is full of surprises. Okay, let's jump. I think I'm already in I'm not even sure what contest I'm in here. Well, for the sake of argument, we're in some kind of single entry, 12, 27, whatever it may be. Let's just quickly go through, like we like to do, kind of a quick high-level look at the slate before we dive in to building a pair of lineups here. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So I'm going to just quickly give my thoughts. I mean, when you look at this slate, I mean, I certainly, I already like Dylan Gabriel coming in because, I played him last week and saw my lineups basically finish all the way to the left of the standings, if you know what I mean.
Same.
Any lineup that had Dylan Gabriel in it. And so I'm like, why the hell would I not just go back to him when he's in a much better matchup? Certainly a very low team total, but now he's at home and the Miami defense has not been good. But outside of that, it's really hard to get away from the Washington-Dallas game. But I think that everyone already is probably aware of that one. And so I think one that I do like is potentially going back to this Carolina offense on the road at the New York Jets. Team total kind of in a middling spot right now. Bryce Young put up a pretty good game against Dallas. Again, this is a road game for Bryce Young, so that does make it a little less attractive. But I certainly think there's a chance that maybe this Carolina offense is starting to get some things going. Obviously, Rico Dowdle has been huge for that offense, and when you have a running game, that opens up a lot more. The Jets have been terrible. Again, sometimes it's about targeting really bad defenses, and the Jets have been consistently pretty bad. So I think that's a spot you can certainly go back to. But there's some interesting games on the slate. Obviously, that Washington-Dallas game at the top, and then should be a competitive game between the Chargers and the Colts. Then obviously some spots like Rashee Rice coming back. I'm sure things that you'll get to you'll get to next year.
Yeah. So I do my first look every week. It is pinned in Inner Circle. It is posted on the 1 Week Season Twitter page or X page. But this week I actually did a video, just a recording kind of me like reading it, but talking through just some general thoughts that aren't there on each game. And so yeah, we'll I'm pointing up. We'll link that video.
Yes, it's over in the top right corner. Your first look video this week. I'm excited to take a look at that. But guys, you can check it out. Top right corner of the video. The first look by StatATL. Cannot overstate a very valuable. Just a lot of information you have packed in there. You can catch it in video form.
Yeah, and if we get a lot of folks saying that they find it valuable, maybe I'll do it again next week. But yeah, man, you alluded to it right off the hop. Like that Dallas-Washington game, cream of the crop of the slate. Honestly, it's got a game total of a touchdown more than any other game on the slate, which is so huge. And I kind of feel like it's a game, it's early in the week. I generally feel like Tuesday, Wednesday is early, Thursday, Friday is mid, and then Saturday, Sunday morning up till game time, that's kind of late in the week. Like we're early in the week here. My thoughts are probably going to change or might change, but like right now, like I feel like every roster I'm going to build is going to account for that Washington-Dallas game in some form.
Yes.
It may not be playing to it that it's, a 38-35 game. Some of the Bills will probably account for it that way, but, others may have a defense or may just have one piece for it to kind of work about how does that game kind of fail? Because I don't see that game being a 17-10 game. Like there's going to be some points scored, but it's going to be far and away the highest owned game on the slate, or at least it should. So yeah, we'll talk about that and some ways to play it as we get into both that Jayden roster and then accounting for it on a Dylan Gabriel build. That really stood out to me. I think, the Packers stands out as an offense to me. Again, they're a 25, 26-point team total, something like that. They're an offense that just continues to keep scoring. I do like the Chargers, Colts. I think that game is really interesting. And then, I think that the Chiefs in general are probably going to garner some ownership. I think the Chiefs have the highest team total on the entire slate. What kind of gets me off the Chiefs a little bit is just now they're at home. Their defense is pretty decent, and they're getting a Raiders team like Las Vegas. Geno Smith have kind of looked like garbage the last couple of weeks. And I just don't know that I envision that game being super competitive where we're going to see, Mahomes throw the ball 35, 40 times. Like, I just don't know that that's the scenario that we're going to see in that game. So with Mahomes being the most expensive quarterback on the slate, like, that's not a game environment that really jumped out at me. But again, that'll be one to kind of see as we get later in the week. Like, if that's a game that's being completely ignored, there's some merit there to basically saying, Vegas isn't always wrong. And if they've got a team total of 29 points and a game total of 45, 46, and there's no ownership, I'll probably have one of my dozen lineups built around that game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a good take. It will somewhat depend on what ownership is, how ownership is looking. Again, because of the high team total, you would have to expect that there is going to be some ownership there, but sometimes, it's surprising is some of the spots that aren't owned. So it'll be interesting to see where we are a little bit later in the week. Recording this Wednesday night, so Thursday's tomorrow. We're starting to get closer to the weekend, so starting to get a little more of a sense. All right, Stat, where do you want to start? What build do you want to do first here? The Daniels one?
Yeah, let's go Jayden Daniels here. Honestly, like, just starting at the QB position, like, Jayden Daniels, in my mind, is the best on paper play at QB this week, and I don't know that it's particularly close. I would say Dak Prescott in the same game at home would probably be my second favorite option, for just blindly ranking without taking into account salary. But Daniels kind of offers more with his legs. And then if we kind of look back and see, again, the past isn't indicative of what's going to happen in the future, but Russell Wilson, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, all posted their best fantasy score of the season against Dallas. They all put up 29 or more fantasy points. Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, both went for 24 plus. Like, this is a great spot for Jayden Daniels. I feel like he is cheaper than he should be in this spot. And so this is really just not overthinking it. I think the challenge that you get into with Jayden Daniels and Washington is if you go back and look at like the 5 or 6 weeks that that they've played this season, although Jayden Daniels was injured, so he didn't play all the games. But even if you go back and look at last year, one of the challenges with Daniels is that he oftentimes is not bringing a pass catcher along with him when he puts up these strong games, because he does a lot of it with his legs. And his two primary pass catchers, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, aren't super cheap. So, in order for them to give you that strong tournament-worthy score, you really need 20, 25 points minimum from those guys at their salaries. Like, I think they're both around 6K. Like, if you're only getting 15 points from them, to me, that's a little bit of a deterrent. So, I think on a slate where I've done a couple of practice builds, although we're just kind of shooting this one from the hip, salary is kind of tight this week. So I think if I am going to build with some correlation, like, my initial thought is Zach Ertz at tight end. Again, he doesn't at sub 4K. I think he's like 3,800 at sub 4K. Like, I don't need a massive game out of him to pay off that salary. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a game of 16. He's got a game of 18. He's only played 5 games. So, I feel like, if I can get 18, 16 points from him at 3,800, like, that's excellent. That's all I need from a pay down tight end option this week. So let's go with Ertz on this build.
Yep.
And then I think here I feel like there's a lot of different ways that you can build Dallas, which I think makes this game really intriguing. Despite the fact that I think it's going to be very popular, like the most popular game on the slate. I think with CeeDee Lamb likely to be back, you've got Pickens, you've got Ferguson, you've got Javonte Williams as well. Like, to me, I feel like there's a lot of different ways that you can build around this game and be different. But to me, I want to go Javonte Williams here. On the ground, Commanders have surrendered some massive games in the last couple weeks. Yeah. Like, Bijan Robinson went for 181 total yards. DeAndre Swift went for 175 total yards. And these are like the last 2 or 3 weeks. So to me, I like going Javonte Williams. I feel like that gets us a little bit different. I think people will primarily lean into the wide receivers or, pass catchers in general for Dallas. And I think at their salaries, I don't know that you even need a Dallas bringback in this game. But I think with this one, we'll build Javonte Williams. And I think that's a good start. Like, to me, I feel like that's enough from this game.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And actually, Hilo talked about this on Tuesday. If you guys want to check that video out, wrong shoulder, the DFS lab, just saying with CeeDee Lamb coming back, Pickens' price has come up because of the production he had without CeeDee Lamb. And so now Pickens, you would think, would be overpriced for the role. That still doesn't mean he couldn't go off. I mean, and these players are going to be owned. So if it's a CeeDee Lamb game, people are going to have him. If it's a Pickens game, but I would say at this point they do seem maybe overpriced for their roles. The Lamb is pretty cheap, but he's it's going to be his first game back. But I agree with you what you're saying there. There's a lot of plays you can play this. I'll certainly be playing this many ways, but I do like the Williams bring back.
Yeah. So I think, again, we're kind of playing into a chalky game here. I don't know that we're doing it super uniquely. I don't think this will be a common way to do it. So I think from here, I want to try to get a little bit different. And we've got Zach Ertz as a pay down option. So I'm willing to kind of grab some higher end players here. And one of the games that I feel like people may shy away from playing multiple plays in this game. But I do like the Eagles at Vikings game. And to me, like, I'm really intrigued to see what the field does with Saquon Barkley this week. He's yet to score 20 fantasy points. He's still expensive at 7,700, but the Vikings have allowed big days to all 3 running backs that saw 20 or more touches. Like, they allowed 168 yards to Bijan Robinson, 128 yards to Quinton Junkins, and 134 yards to Kenneth Gainwell. Like, Gainwell also scored multiple touchdowns. The Eagles started off the year 4-0, and in every one of those games, Barkley had 22 or more touches. And then they've gone back-to-back games, both losses to the Giants and the Broncos, where Barkley didn't even see 15 touches. So I feel like they get back to their leaning on Barkley. Like, Minnesota's done a pretty good job of shutting down wide receivers. Like, they held Jamar Chase, Rome Odunze, Drake London, all to under 50 yards. So I feel like this is a spot where the Eagles lean on the run, and I want to go Barkley in this lineup. And I feel like paying up twice in this game, which is what we're about to do, I feel like it's going to make this a pretty unique way of going on this. And why I want to do that is, Justin Jefferson's coming off, back-to-back big games where he hasn't caught a touchdown. He's gone for 120 yards. You add a touchdown to those games, you're now looking at 30 points. And I feel like he's going to continue to see opportunity. And, the Eagles secondary has allowed CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua, Cortland Sutton, Emeka Ibuka. Like, the star wide receivers that they faced have all hit 100 receiving yards against them. So this feels like a spot that I really do like for Jefferson. And I think if we pencil in Jefferson here, we kind of have to see what we're going to be left with salary. But I feel like this gives us a second correlation, like mini correlation. And I feel like this lineup has a ton of ceiling. We're not left with a ton of salary, but so far we've got a ton of ceiling.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And, you want to see Barkley. It's just like, when is the big game coming? At some point, the field's going to give up. And that's not saying that the big game will happen. But like you said, the ceiling is there on both of these guys.
Yeah. So I think from here, let's just pencil in a defense. When I do my first look, I always try to highlight 4 or 5 defenses, typically 1 or 2 of the pay-up defenses, 1 or 2 kind of mid-range, and 1 or 2 of a cheaper defense. And I think on the show, we usually like to just try to pencil in somebody middle range. My favorite middle range defense is the Bears at 3,100, taking on the Saints at home. Dennis Allen, former coach of the Saints, He's now the defensive coordinator of the Bears. You know, he knows he's seen what Rattler can do last year. I think there's a strong possibility he could throw some stuff Rattler's way, really trip him up. So I do like this as a potential start. 3 spots left, still not a ton of salary.
4,700, yeah, per spot here.
So I think this is a build that maybe we could lean into that Bears correlation, and maybe we consider DeAndre Swift in the flex spot here.
Yeah,
he's 5,700, I think. I don't know all the pricing by heart just yet.
Yeah, 5,700. And quietly has been not terrible. I mean, not awful. I feel like the DeAndre Swift brand has really fallen in popularity, but he's actually put up 15 or more fantasy points in 3 of 5 so far.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a player that I hardly ever roster, but he's seen 12 or more rush opportunities, 3 or more targets in every game, as you were just showing. And the Saints have faced 5 running backs who had that same statistic, at least 12 carries, at least 3 targets in that game. You know, James Conner, Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Cam Scatterbo. Each of them went for 14 or more, like 14.5 DK points or higher. So I feel like at 5K or 5,700, like this is an interesting spot for Swift. If we pencil him in, where does that leave us in salary?
That leaves us at 4,250. So it's like either you do 2 real cheap wide receivers or an absolute punt, which I don't even know if there is a viable punt. I'm sure
there are a couple punts that I like. And Cheese, if you read my first look, they'll be highlighted out to you.
Yes, guys, again, check out the first look. Got the video linked up there. You can also find it on 1 week season.
Yeah, but I do think that's probably a little thin for this build. So let's go a different direction here, and let's actually look at tight end, and we can even tie this into the Dylan Gabriel roster that we build. David Njoku left the game last week in the fourth quarter with an injury, really leaving Fannin to play a ton of snaps. Njoku didn't practice today. I think there's a strong possibility he doesn't play. You saw Fannin go for a season-high 10 targets last week. I think he's got 15 targets the last 2 weeks in like Gabriel's 2 starts. He's seeing, an average of 7 or 8 targets a week. I think that's likely to be the case. 14. So 7, an average of 7 the last 2 weeks. I feel like that's a possibility that we see that continue if Njoku were to miss. So let's pencil in Fannin here and go double cheap tight end, or pay down tight end. And I feel like this gives us a little bit more flexibility. I've got 1,000 more a spot now.
Yeah, give some breathing room. All right, so 2 wide receiver spots left in this first build. Again, there's more fun to come still, folks. Got Dylan Gabriel build. I'm sure you'll, maybe keep some of the core here, but yeah, where do you want to go here to finish this one out?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, let's account for that Kansas City offense. Like again, where I think we're about to go here, I don't think is going to be sneaky to anyone. But I want to go Racey Rice here. Rice was, Mahomes' top target last year. He's making his season debut after serving that 6-game suspension, but he's only 5,600. And I feel like the upside at this price is honestly just hard to ignore on a team total of 28 or 29 points. So, yeah, if we throw in Racey Rice here, leaves us 4,700 left at wide receiver. I do feel like, and again, we could go down at defense if we can't get somewhere we like at wide receiver here. I think Rashid Shaheed is interesting at 4,500. For playing the Chicago defense, I think that's intriguing. Like you're basically saying Chicago defense gets a pick 6 or multiple sacks, basically leading New Orleans to throw more. So Shaheed is interesting. I don't mind going Matthew Golden here either, with Green Bay having, again, a 25, 26-point team total. He's been more involved recently. And I really think that he's got 20-point upside in him. And again, it gives us the ability to account for another high point, another high team total. So I don't mind that there's not any more I mean, there's some decent correlation. We got 5 correlated pieces out of 9 if we go that route. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I want to do.
No touchdowns for Matthew Golden.
Yeah, and one of the things we like to talk about, I don't think it's been as high this year on 1 week season as in past years, but we generally like to talk about pre-touchdown fantasy scoring because touchdowns are so hard to predict. And so, you're getting some decent, points from Golden without a touchdown. Seeing his snap share increase as the season has gone on. He's obviously a rookie. But you know what I mean? Like you've seen basically every game he's improved. His best game last week coming out of that bye, likely some more emphasis to keep him involved. He sees rushing attempts as well as you're seeing.
Right.
So it's a guy I like as our final spot here. So let's pencil him in and see where we land for roster number 1.
All right. Yeah. So for roster number 1 with Golden now in there, Jayden Daniels, Javonte Williams, Saquon Barkley, and Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Matthew Golden, Zach Ertz, Harold Fannin Jr., Bears defense. That is the Jayden Daniels led build. So, all right, Stat, we got one more left to build here. The Dillon Gabriel lineup. This was the poll in the Inner Circle chat, 1 week season Discord. The other one was the Twitter poll. So, how do you want to structure this one?
Yeah, I mean, so let's get Gabriel in there at quarterback instead of Jayden Daniels.
Right. Yeah, it is going to get hard to get away from a lot of Jayden Daniels this week.
Yeah, and I mean, I think some of the core of this roster, honestly, is fine to stay. I think that Judkins is going to be a popular play at running back this week. So I think that if we're going Gabriel, I feel like the best way that I want to build around Gabriel is to really get some leverage on those Judkins builds. Yeah. So I think for Gabriel to kind of give you that, he doesn't even really need ceiling at his price. But I think that he's probably a double stack candidate here for me. So let's take out Golden, let's take out Ertz. Let's take out Fannin, and we can keep Fannin, but we'll put him in the tight end spot and just kind of see how this build goes. Awesome. But I think for me, we've got a decent amount of salary. Like again, we may move some more pieces around, but if we go Jerry Jeudy here, who's kind of their pseudo wide receiver 1, again he's super cheap at 4,400, coming off I think 13 targets last week. His most involved that he's been, but again, 9 targets 2 weeks before, multiple games of 8 earlier in the season. I feel like he has some solid upside. And so basically what you're asking for with this player block of Gabriel, Jeudy, and Fannin, their total cost is like 12,500, something like that with my math. So basically in order to kind of keep you on a tournament worthy pace, you're looking for 4x that. You're literally asking for 50 points out of Gabriel, Jeudy, and Fannin. So basically an average of 16 points each. Like that feels well within the range of outcomes here. Like I'm not asking for 30-point games here. And that gives you so much more flexibility to get in the Barkleys, the Jeffersons, the more expensive pieces in this roster. I still got 6,600 left on this build. And I think one way to approach this build would be, if we're going to double stack Gabriel, like let's really lean into this game being more competitive and saying that Miami keeps pace. And so Miami's kind of got 2, main pieces with either Devon Achane or Jalen Waddle. And I kind of have a rule of don't play running backs against Cleveland.
Yes.
Still applies. We said it last week. Jaylen Warren, RB1 for Pittsburgh, 8.3 points against the Browns last week. 5th RB1 of the season to be held under 15 points. The only running back that has topped 15 points against the Browns was Jahmyr Gibbs, who only went for 17 points. And they've played they faced Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs and Jordan Mason and Jahmyr Gibbs, and Chase Brown. Like, they've seen strong running backs, strong running games, and they've shut them all down. So to me, this is not a spot that I'm going to consider Achane. He's honestly a guy I'm Xing out of the player pool entirely at 8K for me this week. But I think that this is a great spot to consider Jaylen Waddle. 6,300 really fits this build well. Again, I feel like you're going without Tyreek Hill, and I don't expect Devon Achane to have much success. I feel like this is a spot where 8 to 10 targets, maybe more, is the likeliest outcome for Waddle. So I don't mind the 6,300 price range, and that really fits this build. With kind of a double stack with Cleveland having a bring back. You don't need one, but I think that on this particular build, we go that way. And then maybe we consider another option. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
No, I think Waddle, having him in there, especially considering that the Dolphins are probably not going to see a ton of success for Achane on the ground, and Achane will probably still get some targets but there just aren't too many other places to go for this Dolphins offense. So I think Waddle, probably has a target floor of 8 to 10. Are those targets? I mean, does he catch only half of them? That would be the downside risk, because how good Cleveland's D is. But I think for the price and just the target floor he probably has, I think it's a great spot, especially with the correlation.
Yeah, and I feel like on this type of build, I like going just Javonte Williams, because I'm basically saying that Dylan Gabriel gives you a better point per dollar score, or at least allows you to get up. Like, on a Dylan Gabriel type build, that's not a build where I personally am going to want to stack a bunch of Washington and Dallas pieces. Because if a bunch of Dallas and Washington pieces are paying off their salaries, you're going to be just better playing Dak or Jayden. So I feel like if you're going away from that, realize what that roster is saying. So yeah, I kind of like this start. I think if we wanted to go away from Waddle, let's see what some other options we could do here. I know we're at 30 minutes right now, but
no, we're fine.
Okay, so if we got rid of Judy, I don't mind going Bond as an option here as part of a double stack. Isaiah Bond's been seeing a good number of targets. You're seeing 4, 6, 5, 7. He's playing. His snaps have increased week after week. And again, he's even cheaper. So yeah, I mean, you're basically saying I probably need to get a touchdown out of Bond. But if we roster Bond at the wide receiver spot and don't change anything else, I feel like that gives us an option to get a more exciting option potentially than Waddle in that flex spot. Gets us up to 7,600. Again, not a roster where I want to play Lamb or Pickens. Again, we talked about that. If I'm gonna play Javonte and Lamb, I probably should just play Dak.
Yes,
I'd love to be able to get up to Josh Jacobs. I think that's a really interesting spot to maybe account for a little bit. Opposing running backs have scored every week against Arizona. Jacobs, again, coming off back-to-back 30-point games, as you're showing here. And he's seen 20 or more touches in every week. So if we put in Jacobs, we're 200 short. I think here maybe we just go down off the Bears D. And I'm fine with either I don't love the Colts, but I don't mind the Colts. I wouldn't mind going Commanders here. Actually, let's do Commanders here and then get off of Javonte Williams and go to Bill, to Crosby, Merritt at 6,100. I know that gives us a little bit extra salary.
Play with, yeah.
But this is a way of saying, how are we accounting for Dallas and Washington not being that high scoring game, or Jayden not putting up a monster game? well, Jayden's not putting up a monster game because the touchdowns are going through JCM. And this is a roster that accounts for that. So I like this option as well. And I think we don't overthink it. Obviously, like, we don't have to correlate the Commanders here. Like, we could go off the Commanders up to 3,500, and I don't know who that gets you. Let's just take a quick peek if you don't mind. But I'm fine with leaving the Commanders. I don't mind going the Broncos at home against, a rookie quarterback making his fourth start in Jackson Dart. Like, I don't hate that either. So you choose. I think, the purpose of these episodes is just to kind of go through the thought process of building these rosters. So yeah, let's go Broncos here. Gives us a way of correlating, or we could have stayed with Commanders and basically just say they stifle Dallas. But I feel like,
or get a defensive touchdown, or it just like the game ends up being a little bit more low scoring than expected. And so if they get a defensive score, that is benefiting you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like where we ended up here. I think this is a way of accounting for the Washington-Dallas game. Still gives us a lot of that correlation and being different with keeping that Barkley and Jefferson pairing. And then I just can't imagine that Dylan Gabriel double stacks are going to be popular this week. I just can't see it. But again, they don't need a lot. And this pairing is even, 1,000 less. Like, I'm only asking for 45 points out of this pairing. Like, I only need 14 or 15 points out of each of these three guys too. So we can get the touchdowns we can get Bond to get a touchdown, and Fanning could get there without even the touchdowns by just how involved he's been. I think this lineup has paths to first place.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this lineup, again, we kind of did a couple of variations here, but the lineup we finished on at the moment that you see on the screen, or if you're listening on audio: Dylan Gabriel, Bill, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Bond, Fannin Jr., Josh Jacobs, and the Broncos D. But we did swap it around a little bit. So at one point it was Javonte Williams at the running back spot with the
probably the Colts.
That was the Bears D, right? Or no, it was the Colts D.
Yeah, and we were like 100 or 200 short for Bears.
Waddle instead of Jacobs. Yeah, Waddle instead of Jacobs. Hey, 3 for the price of 1. It's pretty good value, and we're always looking for value in DFS. So I'd say that we've delivered it here tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Stat, any final thoughts before we send this one away?
Nope. Hoping to see those OWF avatars at the top of leaderboards again here in week 7.
That's right, guys. Hope to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. StatATL, thanks for your time, brother.
Catch you next week.
See you guys.